Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about books and writing your book quickly and whether or not you should rush through the process of creating your book just to get it on the market, or what you should do in terms of timing. And this is inspired by a question that I got in my free community, which you can come join at blogger2author.com/community. I know a lot lately I've been talking about writing your book faster and some tips to help you get it done, that sort of thing. And that may have led to some confusion about whether or not you should rush through the process of writing your book. So I wanted to address that in a live video today. But first, I'll introduce myself. Hi, I am Dr. Beth Brownbos of Blogger2Author. I'm a #1 best-selling author, and I've written and self-published 4 books now, and I'm just really passionate about helping my fellow bloggers and content creators and entrepreneurs build their businesses with a book. And I'm just here to support you through the process. But today, again, I want to get back to this idea of whether or not you should rush and hurry through your book, because again, I have been talking a lot about writing your book faster. When I talk about writing your book faster, though, I don't necessarily think that you really need to rush through the process. You want to create a good book. I also talk a lot about done being better than perfect, and I also think that that's true, especially if you're a person who tends to procrastinate on making things live, again, pushing the publish button on your book, for example, because you're worried that it's not perfect. You do want to make sure your book is high quality. And unfortunately, there's not necessarily, without, hiring an editor, you may not be able to completely tell the difference. But I do think that you should, first and foremost, sit down and ask yourself, what do you want your reader to get out of this book? And a lot of it does come down to, really having that solid reader avatar, knowing what they need, and then knowing what it will take to get them to where you want them to go. So ask yourself, what do you want them to have learned by the end of reading your book? Or what's their take-home message? What should they have applied to their life? What changes should they have seen in their life? That sort of thing. So ask yourself those questions. And again, write down what your goal is that you want your reader to have learned by the time they finish your book, or what you want them to be able to accomplish, maybe what you want them to have accomplished. If your book is something like a journal or something where you're really encouraging them to take action as they read your book. So once you have that in mind, you can then go back and examine your manuscript and make sure that it fulfills that goal, so that your manuscript, that your reader has enough time or enough information to really accurately apply what you're trying to teach. And again, I try to say this a lot, but I'll say it again. This is aimed at nonfiction authors. Fiction authors, you are a totally different type of writer, obviously. And so really specifically here, I'm speaking to nonfiction authors. The advice I give is going to apply to nonfiction authors more than fiction authors. In some instances, fiction authors, you may be able to glean a piece of information or two, but especially when it comes to the process of writing the book, that is very different between fiction and nonfiction. And so this is, again, primarily aimed at fiction writers. Non-fiction writers. But nonfiction authors, again, you want to get your reader to somewhere. Maybe it's just that they're entertained, or maybe you want them to think a different way about their life or the way that they go about doing things. And I know I work with a lot of health and wellness authors. So what health or wellness changes do you want them to have made in their life? Or, for example, with my book, Yoga for Runners, I really wanted runners to have the basics of what they needed to do to get started with a yoga practice, but I didn't want to necessarily give them too much information that they didn't need. So I took my knowledge from working with yoga students in the studio and applied that to write the book. It's like, okay, what do I need to teach them? Or, my new students who walk through the door, what do they need to know? And so I wrote the book based on that. So that really, again, think to what your reader needs, and then make sure that the book is meeting their needs. And when it does, make sure that the book or your manuscript is easy to read, that they can get the information out that they need, that it's clear. You might need to add in some more examples or add in some clarification, maybe add in a story or two. Story can be really great, and it's a really effective way to help people figure out, or I guess learn, get things sorted out in their brain, what you're trying to teach them. So that might be something you add in. But just make sure what you're teaching is clear, that it's easy to read, that it's understandable, that people get what you're trying to say. Have somebody, maybe you have a friend who is an English major, or maybe you want to hire an editor, but try to catch as many typos and grammatical mistakes and punctuation mistakes as possible, with the understanding that your manuscript is never going to be perfect, and that if you're self-publishing with a platform like CreateSpace, it's actually really easy to upload an updated version of the file where you correct any of those typos. But just as a side note, pick up any first print run of any book. You're gonna see typos. And it's just in those subsequent printings that those get captured and that they get switched around. But actually, with print-on-demand services like what I suggest you use, it's actually really easy to fix those. So I guess that's that mindset shift. If you are worried about every single little typo, and if you are totally freaked out about just little nitpicky things versus big picture, like, okay, is this book going to serve my audience? Then maybe it's time to kind of get yourself moving along and don't let those perfectionistic tendencies get in your way. Likewise, if writing your book is not a priority to you, or if you haven't been writing consistently, then follow those suggestions that I've been making about writing your book faster. But those suggestions, again, were primarily aimed at nonfiction authors, and really at nonfiction authors who have had their book on their to-do list for a while, but they're not seeing any progress, and where they want to have that book, but it's been sitting in their computer for months or maybe even years, and it's not doing them any good where it is. So those people, I want you to take those messages to heart. I don't want you to rush through writing your book and put out something that's substandard just to get it done. That's not the point here. But the point is to not let your book sit on the back burner for too long where it's not doing you any good. And the point here is to make sure that you are making consistent progress towards finishing your book, and that you are giving it the adequate amount of time and attention it deserves based on your needs and what you need your book to do for you. And again, whether it's going to be part of a sales funnel, whether it is going to be a big product for you and you want it to make money for you, whether you are trying to really get your name out there and you need your book to help you build authority and to help you maybe get some speaking gigs, that sort of thing. So figure out where your book fits in that whole picture, and then assign the appropriate amount of time to work on your book. Based on those goals, make sure that it has the right priority level and that you are consistently working. And then again, if it needs to be a big priority and you need to get it written quickly, follow all of those suggestions that I've been giving you about writing your book faster, with the understanding that no, you don't want to put out a book that's a total piece of crap, but you do want to make sure that your book, that perfectionism isn't holding you back so much that your book isn't being published and that it's not doing for you what you need it to do. Again, you can always publish a second edition. You can always make minor corrections. So if that's still unclear, let me know. I can leave any comments leave your comments in the comments area, and I would be happy to answer them. But I hope that clarifies things a little bit, and I will see you later. Have a great day.